Okay, boys and girls, you will need a pencil, paper, and a calculator and your math book. And please turn to page 71. We're going to continue going over the problems for questions 4, 5, and 6. So, let's take a look at problem number 4. We have a problem about Tara. And it tells us Tara can type 180 words in 4 minutes. At this rate, how many words can she type in 10 minutes? Well, in this example, I can use a double number line. So, this is problem number 4. And here's my number line. The top line is going to represent the number of words. This sign here is also a number sign, not just a hashtag. It's also called a pound sign. And this here, the second number line is going to represent the number of minutes. So I know from the problem, she can type 180 words in 4 minutes. Well, I could use this to figure out minute 1, 2, 3. Okay, I want to find out the unit rate. This right here. How many words can she type in 1 minute? Well, I can scale back and I'm going to look at 2 because I know that 2 is half of 4. So what's half of 180? 180 divided by 2 would be 90. So then I can scale back going from 2 to 1. How do I go from 2 to 1? I divide by 2. So here, how many words go with 1 minute? I would also divide by 2. And that's 45. So I know in 1 minute she can type 45 words. So now the question wants to know in 10 minutes, how many words can she type? Well, how do I go from 1 to 10? Multiply by 10. So 45 times 10 is 450. So I know in 10 minutes she could type 450 words. That's one way I could use a double number line to solve that problem. Another way is I could use fractions, excuse me, that are representing the ratios. For instance, I know the ratio is 180 words in 4 minutes. So this means divide 180 divided by 4, and that equals 45. 45 words in 1 minute. So if I wanted to know how many she could type in 10 minutes, I would multiply by 10, and that's going to equal 45 times 10 is 450. So she could type 450 words in 10 minutes. Let's move on to problem number 5. Problem number 5 says a bakery makes 260 donuts in 4 hours. At this rate, how many donuts can they make in 6 hours? So, I have 2 parts here. I need to figure out how much they can make in 1 hour for part 1, and part 2 is take that number and multiply it by 6. I could also represent this with a double number line. I'm going to let the top number line represent the donuts. And I'm going to let the bottom number line represent the hours. And from the problem, it tells me they can bake 260 donuts in 4 hours. So 260 in 4 hours. I want to know the unit rate. So how much would they make in 1 hour? Well, so how can I go from 4 to 1? I divide by 4. So in 1 hour, to find that number, I'm also going to divide by 4. And 260 divided by 4 is 65. So now I know the unit rate. They make 65 donuts per hour. Now, I could also use my double number line to figure up how much are they going to make in 6 hours. Well, 6 hours. So I notice that for instance, if they can make 260 in 4, that means in 2 hours, they could make 130. So I could add the 4 hours plus the 2 hours, which is 260, plus the 130, and that's 390. They can make 390 donuts in 6 hours. Or I could say 65, 65. I could do that 6 times. Or multiply 65 times 6, and that's 390. So they can make 390 donuts in 6 hours. I'm going to adjust the camera here just so you can see more of my page. Sorry about that, folks. Now, another way I could do that using my fraction is I know that the ratio is 260 donuts for 4 hours. So this means 260 divided by 4. This bar here in the fraction is divide. 260 divided by 4. Okay? And 260 divided by 4 equals 65. So they can make 65 donuts in 1 hour. That's per 1 hour. So if I want to know how many they can make in 6 hours, I would say 65 times 6. And guess what? That's going to be that 390. So the answer to problem number 5 is 390. In 6 hours, they could make 390 donuts. Now, let's take a look at problem number 6. This problem says, while jumping rope, Juan jumped 24 times in 30 seconds. At this rate, how many times will he jump in 50 seconds? Well, to me, the best way that I can solve these problems is finding the unit rate by using fractions. I can do it using bar diagrams and double number lines, but once you get dealing with bigger numbers, 24, 30, 50, that's not something I want to draw. And I think it's much faster if I use this method. Using this method will also help once we move into proportion and percents. because you can use this process for many, many problems. Just like in the last video, I've told you there's more than one way to get to Walmart. This is the way that I prefer to get to Walmart. So this is the way that I would do this problem. I know that 1 can jump 24 times in 30 seconds. So the ratio of jumps to seconds is 24 to 30. Now, if I want to figure out my unit rate, which I do, that's when the magic happens. If you can figure out what 1 is, you can figure out what any number is, because all you have to do is multiply it by the number. For instance, 24 divided by 30. That equals 8/10. Okay? That is how many jumps he can jump per second. He's not quite at 1 jump per second. He's at 8/10 of a jump per second. So, if he can jump 24 jumps in 30 seconds, this is jumps, and that is seconds. This is how much he can jump. This is the jump per second. So the problem says, at this rate, how many times will he jump in 50 seconds? So this is the second part of the problem. Excuse me. I know in 1 second he can jump 8/10 of a jump. I want to know how many jumps can he jump in 50 seconds. So I say 50 times 8/10. And that is going to be 40. He can jump 40 jumps in 50 seconds. Now, notice I mentioned in the last video, when you add or subtract numbers with decimals, you line up the decimal point. When you multiply numbers with decimals, you line up the numbers. Okay, 40.0 is the same number as 40, the whole number 40. So he is able to jump 40 times in 50 seconds. I hope you found these videos helpful. You may want to watch this video again. It's perfectly okay to watch these videos more than one time. And if you didn't work them out as we went along, or if you didn't pause the video to check your own answer, you can certainly go back, work the problems out yourself, and see if you get the same answers.